Soulful discussion.
All right, so hi, how are you doing today?
Good. Hi.
All right. So how did we just meet right now? How did our paths cross?
I just got to the beach, and then I was talking to the lady who was vending some earrings.
Yep.
Got into a big conversation with her. She was lovely, and then was walking down towards the beach and crossed paths with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I approached you. What did I approach you about? What are we doing today?
You are doing some interviews for your YouTube video about interviewing women, mental health, reflexology, feet.
There you go. All right.
I'm is this a foot fetish thing?
So when you hear the word feet, is that what you think about immediately? You think about foot fetish?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Some my feet are not pretty at all.
I love the fact. Just be honest about it. So we're gonna ask questions today. Maybe your thoughts about subject of feet. Feel free to answer however you like during these moments. Okay. What about mental health? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear about that?
I love therapy.
Okay.
Nice. I go to a talk therapist, and then I do somatic trauma therapy. Okay. Well, I get it done. I'm not a therapist. I'm not the therapist. Yeah. But I think mental health is great. It's great that people are more aware and it's not thought of so negatively anymore.
Yeah, I think it's definitely
a
lot of positives there. It's starting to go forward. We're going to talk a little bit about social media impacts it can have on depression and anxiety.
Okay.
So you can tell me what your thoughts are about that. You said reflexology. At first you were like, I don't know anything about this topic. Then you start talking about reflexology. You're like, oh, pressure points, right? I'm like, yes.
That's all I know.
That's all you know. So we'll go a little bit more in depth. We'll give you some information, and you can just tell me what your thoughts are.
Okay.
First question: what are your thoughts about how the world's starting to become more aware of mental health and what we're starting to do about it? How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. I'm first generation Cambodian American, so my parents were refugees of the Khmer Rouge, so there's been a lot of trauma there. But also, back in the day, no one knew anything about mental health.
Yeah.
They didn't seek therapy because they in our culture is thought of as bad. You know?
I think a lot of
brown.
Yeah, a lot of ethnic groups, right?
It's just oh, you're crazy or something, So they don't see it as this should be part of your daily health.
Yeah.
And
that goes with everything: spiritual, physical, mental. All those things, right?
I agree.
Absolutely. And I think one of the main things that I find, you're hearing about this all the time, right? Generational, awareness about certain things, because, like you said, a lot of times we don't talk about it. We don't know about it. We don't really want to think about it because we have other things to worry about, that are more pressing matters. And that kind of gets pushed to the back burner.
100%. You push it down, but it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away.
It just goes on to the next. Yeah. The next generation, your kids. Yeah, it's just layers.
Absolutely. So in terms of social media, first of all, what are your thoughts about it? And then secondly, how do you use it yourself?
So I was lucky in that I'm part of that generation that when I went to college, that's when it first started.
Okay.
Or in high school, I guess MySpace happened, senior, and then Zynga's, and Friendster, but that never took off.
No, it never took off.
No. So then Facebook happened, and I don't really use social media anymore.
Yeah.
I just deactivated my Instagram.
Oh wow. One of those unicorns.
Because I just found I had to look for a job, and I was just this is just sucking up my time on dumb things.
Yeah.
And so you go down a hole, there's positive things, but at the same time, then you realize that some of social media is such a huge thing where talk to a friend that I haven't for a while via text, and they're oh yeah, I moved to Portland, bought a house, I'm oh, that's cool, congrats, and they'll be oh, you didn't see it on my Instagram? No, I don't.
I don't follow you that way.
If it's important, you can tell me.
Absolutely.
And so I only have my Facebook just so I can talk to my family overseas. But I think social media, it's got its pros and cons. It's great that, self-expression, creativity, explore your identity. But then I don't know how kids can navigate it nowadays, where it's it's all, it's that. It's also all manicured. When you take a picture, it's you take 10 pictures before you pick one to post.
Yeah. It's you're that mindset and that conscious attitude about like, okay, it's got to be perfect, and you're looking at other people's pictures.
Yeah.
And, well, mine doesn't look like that. Let me figure out how I can make it look better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Absolutely.
Come up with the, verbiage to go with it.
Yeah, the perfect caption. Yeah.
Yes. And then, like, I got rid of my Instagram because I was like, this is stupid. Why am I posting things and getting like comments on it when I don't even want to comment back? I don't want to respond. This seems like a
don't
job.
Don't even want to respond. Absolutely. In terms of social media, right? Let's say somebody came to you and they're like, hey, I'm gonna give you the power to change something about it. Is there anything you would change? Do you kind of feel like maybe the change needs to happen with people? What are your thoughts? What's your thoughts here?
That is hard. I feel like because kids grow up with it and they think everything is real, I think that, I don't know what kind of class it should be in school, but like kids should learn, like maybe like a body positivity class or something like that, where like,
that's a good one.
They learn that things are photoshopped, things are heavily manicured on social media, and even though everyone boasts about these like wonderful, like happy lives,
how much of that is real?
Yeah.
You know what I found interesting? So I've been doing this and asking this question for quite some time, and one of the ladies I interviewed gave me an answer, and she was like, she wishes that there was like almost like a Surgeon General's warning for pictures that are like doctored, like when people go in like Photoshop or do whatever they're doing, that like it would automatically like apply that to it so that people would know like, oh, okay, this is not real. This is, and so I think that like to your point, like maybe that would be something helpful as well.
That is helpful because I like the Kardashians really, they really fucked up,
they messed
everything.
Yeah.
But like it's just very unrealistic beauty standards or just like lifestyles that we can't attain as normal people.
Not
but we shouldn't feel
stuff.
bad. Yeah, we shouldn't feel bad that that's not our life.
Yeah.
But like a lot of kids, like they should know that, with this, airbrushing and like cosmetic surgery is so normalized. Everything's so normalized that they don't realize that it's not real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In terms of anxiety, right? Is there anything that brings you anxiety? You don't have to go too in depth. Maybe more surface level things. And if so, when you feel anxiety happening, what do you do to counteract those emotions?
That's a great question. I think I get anxiety. Am I trying to think? Just in like, it's like
I think for me, I'll give you an example of mine.
Yeah.
Like mine's is like a crowd. So like I'm okay.
Okay.
Like a situation like this, like I know there's a lot of people at the beach, but it's spread out, so I'm good. But like if I'm in like a building and I like see like this crowd, so like Black Friday for me, is the absolute worst
horrible.
Because like I'm like almost like I don't know what's happening here. I don't know who's in the crowd, what could possibly go wrong. So that brings me a lot of like anxious like feelings, like crowds dealing with.
And then how do you?
So I have a breathing technique.
Okay.
That's one of the things I do, and then I try to like focus on things that like I see around me that like kind of like slow down like the thinking process. So my number is 5. Like I'll count to 5 with the breathing.
Okay.
And then after that I kind of release and then just like kind of let it out. And then like I said, focusing on things around me.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I heard that like if you count, you're having you feeling anxiety coming on. Like this is what my friend just told me this week. But like start looking for a certain color, like brown, like, and name it out loud, like the rock, the what is this? The mulch?
It's like a form of grounding.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like, it's supposed to help you bring down whatever that high feeling is of like anxiousness and like bring it back down more to relax. Like, okay, hey, like
reality,
I see a brown rock.
like connecting.
This right here. So that's kind of like my thing to do. What about you? Like,
I'm not trying to think of things that make me anxious. It's really like situational, I guess.
I see. Anything you do to counteract when you do feel those?
Yeah, like I feel like if I'm getting into like some kind of argument with someone, which doesn't happen a lot, but like that'll kind of make me anxious. Like, honestly, going for a walk or just going to the beach really helps me with anxiety. So yeah, like in the mornings, like to just reset myself and just get me in the right spot, I'll go for a walk or just like take a dip.
Nice.
But I do get anxiety sometimes also with crowds when I'm just not in the mood. If I'm like, because I'm kind of introverted, so if I'm like, I'm like,
I don't want to do this right
yes,
now.
then I'll get like very anxious, and I just realize like I can remove myself from this. I don't, necessarily have to be here with all these people.
Absolutely.
So I'll just step outside or go home. Irish goodbye.
There you go. I'm out.
Yeah.
Let's get into these questions now. I'll be intrigued to see what your thoughts are. How do you feel about your feet? You kind of already mentioned it a little bit earlier, but how do you feel about your feet?
Their feet?
Their
I'm
feet?
like,
so you're like, they serve a function.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Aesthetically, you don't really think too much of them,
No.
Okay.
I don't think feet are pretty.
Really?
So I don't know. I don't really care too much about them.
I see. What is something you do think that is like pretty that maybe most people wouldn't like really pay attention to? Like a physical feature, like some people are like eyebrows or teeth or one person ears. Like I've heard some different things there.
I don't know. For me, it's eyes, but that's like a normal thing.
Yeah. So in terms of that, so with your feet, ever receive compliments? Anybody ever said, "Hey, you have nice feet"?
No. Like no.
Nope.
You're like, why aren't you wearing sandals?
So let me ask you this, right? Let's say you were wearing sandals, and somebody did tell you that.
Yeah.
Thought process there, like what would go through your mind? How would you feel about that?
I'd be like, thank you.
Okay.
And
there's some more thoughts going here. Thank you, but
think about what I did to my feet to make it get a nice compliment.
Okay. Do you get pedicures or anything like that?
I kind of just do it myself. I don't. It's so expensive.
It is. It's
so
expensive. Absolutely.
So I mean, I just do it myself.
Got it.
I don't think I have the worst Frodo feet, but I mean, it's.
Let me ask you this: in terms of compliments you receive, not just physically, but like compliments in general, is there a certain compliment that when you get that compliment, you're like, man, that really made my day. It made me feel good.
Yeah, I'd say when people say that I'm like remind them of the sunshine.
Oh, so you like your energy is like warm. Okay, that's
like
nice.
that they connect the two. Like,
Okay, that's dope. I like that. I've never heard that expression before. By the way, that I remind them of the sunshine. That's dope. I love that. In terms of pedicures, how often do you get pedicures? You said you kind of do them yourself and they're expensive, but how often? Like once a year, special occasions, or
like special occasions. Or when they get really beat up.
So maybe the question is this: when's the last time you had a pedicure?
2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a medical pedicure?
No.
Okay. That's where you go see a podiatrist, specialist of the foot.
Okay.
They take a look at your toenails and make sure they grow correctly.
Oh.
Check your toe alignment to make sure your toe alignment is right. They will check your feet for like dead skin, fungus. Do all the work there with medical grade equipment.
Oh, that's kind of.
What are your thoughts on like seeing somebody like that who could give you insight into like what's going on with your feet? Like not just so much of a cosmetic pedicure painting, but like, hey, here's what you should do with your feet. What would your thoughts be about that?
I'm actually curious about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Nice. All right. How often do you wear open toe shoes?
A lot, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not like self-conscious about
Cali,
it.
Right? It's Cali, right?
I'm just like, no one's gonna want to suck on these toes.
Really? That's what you think? Oh,
Like-
wow. So you said you wear open toe shoes all the time. Do you have a certain brand of shoe you like that you prefer over others?
No,
or is it more like
mine
where
are
you're
just
going?
like from Target.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like where I'm going.
Where you're going at the time. Okay. How often do you go barefoot in your shoes?
Like outside?
In general, just all together.
All the time at home.
Mm-hmm.
Outside only if it's like at the beach or something like that.
What about the park?
Yeah, I'd go. Yeah.
Okay, because I get odd like.
Yeah, like on the grass or something.
So to me, if I have a blanket out and like I'm sitting there and I'm relaxing, I'm like taking my shoes off and I'm relaxing. I've had some people tell me like, "Nah, shoes on," and I'm like,
you want to touch the ground.
That's what I think, man. But not everybody thinks that. It's just interesting to me every single time. All right, so now can we see what your feet look like?
What is this? Where is this going?
It's going somewhere. Don't worry, it's going somewhere. And I'm gonna share my YouTube channel with you and everything, so you'll be able to see. All right.
Like they're not cute.
Oh, they're fine. There's a lot of stuff. Do you mind taking both off so that we can see? There's usually a difference in between what we see. What size do you wear?
6.
Okay, and it looks like your toes. Okay, over here your second toe is bigger on both. So you have an Grecian toe alignment, which is like a Greek toe.
Okay.
So a lot of people in Greece, like that second toe is like the toe that's like out more. So yeah, that's usually what we find there.
I just thought that was.
So leave your feet up. We're gonna go through a couple more exercises. Okay. So first of all, we met a couple minutes ago. We've been talking for a minute. Thoughts? How are you feeling right now?
I'm interested to know the end goal.
Got it. Cool. Let's get there. I'm gonna tell you like why I started my channel, like why we're doing all this. Okay. You ever heard of exposure therapy before?
No.
Okay. You probably have. So let's say, for example, you're uncomfortable like with certain situations, right? Like let's say, for example, you're afraid of going on roller coasters.
Okay.
Right? They really like make you scared.
Okay.
You go to theme parks, but every time you're there, you're just like, nah, I'm good on the roller coaster. I'm just gonna walk around, right?
Yeah.
What therapists would tell you to do, like if you want to experience life to its fullest, right? Go out and put yourself in that situation, right? Do it over and over and over again, right? With the thought process being, right, when you're in those moments, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, right? But you can learn how to like regulate your emotions, how to deal with that, right? So when I heard that, like I was like, wait a minute. My whole life I've been like an overthinker. Like I think about everything deeply, right? And like I've always wanted to like get to the point where I could just like make decisions and just like I'm just gonna do this and whatever happens, right? So I wanted to tie that concept together, right? The exposure part, like just seeing like what type of reactions I get with the subject of feet, because a lot of people feel uncomfortable about that subject. They're like, I think it's weird. They have like connotations, negative connotations attached to it. So the whole point of my channel is to try to like make people more comfortable with the conversation. So like if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you know, this is what I think about feet, people wouldn't look at that person and be like, oh, that's very weird or whatever. They just be like, oh, that's pretty normal, right? Yeah. Because like with most other things, if we talk about hair or if we talk about like eyelashes or whatever it may be, that's
easier,
kind of normal, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, why is another part of the body considered to be like something that's a negative,
like taboo?
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So point of my channel is to try to bring positivity and normalize it. Okay. What are your thoughts about that? Kind of like what I'm doing, like.
I think it's cool that you're doing that. Okay. I never thought of these things. It's good you're an overthinker.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there, right, who tend to be like, they may be interested in feet, right? They like feet. Yeah. Right? And not so much as a fetish, but just like admiration. Like, hey, I like this part of the body, right? So yeah. Everybody has that, right? And so a lot of times they may feel uncomfortable to tell others or express it or talk about it because they feel like, oh man, I'm going to get teased or somebody's going to look down on me or whatever like that. So that's me trying to like normalize those conversations. Absolutely. So let's talk about a little bit about reflexology. Okay. So reflexology is all about the different pressure points. You have your hands and feet, we were talking about a little bit earlier, right? Those pressure points actually connect to different parts of your body, right? So through massage, through acupuncture, acupressure, you can alleviate stress and tension to various parts of your body. Yes. Right? Thoughts about that? Any experiences with that?
I've had acupuncture done, and I believe in it 100%. And like the pressure points, I believe in it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so when I go out, a lot of people don't even know about this, right? Like the different types of like healing you can do to the body, like from like a holistic map. Yeah, exactly, right? A whole map. So like I go out and give this information as part of my interview to like make sure that people know about it. Absolutely. So can we get you to do a couple exercises with your feet to like see what the flexibility, dexterity is you have with that? Okay, let me get you to kind of put your feet out straight like this, and then what I'm gonna have you do first, I'm gonna have you bend your toes, make a fist if you can. Is that easy to do? Is that hard to do? It's kind of hard. It's awkward. Okay, relax. Make you spread your toes. Tell me if you feel pain or discomfort while you're doing that. Is that easy to do? Hard to do? Easy. That's easier to do. Okay. Last thing, wiggle your toes for about 10 seconds. You tell me if you feel any pain, any discomfort, cramping, anything like that happening while you're doing that?
No.
Easy to do?
For like the big toes, not like the
other toes are kind of hard to move.
Yeah.
Okay. I got some stuff that you can do to kind of like help that out, flexibility out. Okay, you can go ahead and put your socks and stuff on. You can do that. So in terms of that, if you want to take a tennis ball or a golf ball, right? You can take that in the morning, roll your foot across it. It'll loosen up the tendons and muscles that you have in your feet to like help you out, be able to do that more easily. Okay. So also just practice some of those movements, like the ones that you said like kind of hard to do. Practicing that more because it's like when you go to the gym, you like lift weights. Like the more you do something, the easier it becomes. That's the same thing.
Yeah, and using the muscles that you don't use. It's like babies have those muscles.
Easily, they have them easily. Yeah. So let's wrap up the interview now. In terms of my approach, coming up to you asking you to do the interview, was it good? Was it bad? How did you feel about my approach?
I feel like you're a friendly person, and I didn't feel like stranger danger.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I thought it was a good approach.
Okay.
You know, you laid out exactly what you wanted.
About.
Yeah, we're talking about no surprises. So it made me feel comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. In terms of the interview, start to finish, did you see how everything was going in a line? Did it make sense? Did you learn anything new from the information like we talked about today?
Yeah, I can now kind of see, like, first I was like, where's this? These are
How do
so
they
many
connect?
different
Yeah.
topics, but I can see your linear thought process now.
Absolutely.
And I honestly, I think that was just like a perception shift for me, because I've never thought about that. Like, if someone said, like, elbows are my favorite part of the body.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna
say anything.
Yeah.
Gonna, okay, cool.
But they're like feet. Like,
Yeah.
oh. You know?
People automatically go to that. I mean, unless you're somebody who's like finds appreciation. I remember the job I'm working at right now. When I first got there, I remember my boss talking about like different things that she does, like with her husband, that like around the feet. Like she was like, "Oh, I make sure that like I do his nails and I do all this other stuff and like self-care and all that stuff." Sometimes we overthink that because it's like, well, we go out, we get pedicures, we do all these things, but then when somebody talks about it, it's a weird thing.
Yes.
Why? Like, so absolutely. The last thing I always ask on my interviews, from a mental health standpoint, maybe a life lesson, wise words somebody shared with you that you could share with the channel that could be helpful.
I would say, okay, because like this past 9 months, unemployed, doing a lot of like work on myself, and then getting to the point where I was like, shit, I'm like running out of money, like I need a job now. I think this is what I've learned is like you really can't force anything.
Yeah.
And
just go with the flow.
You really have to go with the flow, and like just, I know it sounds lame, but you really do just have to like trust that it will work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Absolutely. Everything happens.
So don't stress.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge life lesson I had to learn. I think like early 20s, I was like not really good at that. Started getting into like my late 20s and my 30s, and then I'm like, makes sense. I got it.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. Like,
yeah. Like if this happened to me in my 20s, like I remember, stressing in my 20s, like a lot, and like couldn't sleep and stuff like that. But like even with, this, situation that I had, like I was still able to sleep at night, and like, I just made sure to like do things that would calm me down or put me in the right place of like working out, going to, trying new things, and trying to learn how to skateboard.
There you go. Stand active, man.
So I think just take care of yourself, do things that you need to do for yourself, and it's okay to like, bail on plans and stuff like that. Like don't feel obligated, because sometimes you just need your alone time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you stopping to do this interview with us. All right. And we hope that you have a great one. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.